I am a urologist, and every single morning, millions of men make a critical biological mistake with their first cup of coffee. A mistake that silently constricts their pelvic blood vessels and suffocates their erections for the rest of the day. We are led to believe that coffee is simply an energy booster, a harmless morning ritual to kickstart the brain. But clinically speaking, caffeine is a potent central nervous system stimulant that acts as a double-edged sword. If you consume it without the correct biochemical buffer, it triggers a cascade of stress hormones that literally clamp down on the delicate arteries required for a firm, sustained erection. In my clinic, I see hundreds of men every month who complain of weak erections, low libido, and a sudden loss of spontaneous intimacy. They are drinking 3, 4, or 5 cups of coffee a day to fight off systemic fatigue, completely unaware that their daily caffeine habit is chemically sabotaging their vascular health. They assume their erectile issues are just a natural part of getting older. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly the neurochemical trap you are setting for yourself every morning. And I will show you a specific, heavily researched botanical powder you can mix right into your coffee to completely reverse this vascular clamp and force a massive release of nitric oxide instead. To understand why your morning coffee might be killing your erections, you have to understand the mechanics of the autonomic nervous system. An erection is fundamentally a state of profound vascular relaxation. It is governed by the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest state. When you are relaxed, your endothelial cells produce nitric oxide, the smooth muscles in your pelvic floor loosen, and the cavernous tissue expands to trap blood. However, caffeine is a powerful trigger for the sympathetic nervous system, your ancient fight-or-flight response. When you drink strong coffee, especially on an empty stomach, your adrenal glands release a surge of cortisol and adrenaline. Adrenaline is one of the most potent vasoconstrictors in the human body. Its biological purpose is to pull blood away from your digestive and reproductive organs and push it into your skeletal muscles so you can fight or run away from a threat. When adrenaline hits the alpha adrenergic receptors in your pineal tissue, it forces the smooth muscle to violently contract. When that muscle contracts, the tiny microscopic arteries squeeze shut, and any blood that was entering the penis is rapidly pushed back out. You are left with a cold, retracted, and structurally unresponsive state. This is why reaching for conventional synthetic erectile pills while ignoring your daily stress hormone output is a massive clinical error. Synthetic medications attempt to force vasodilation, but if your bloodstream is flooded with adrenaline and cortisol from unbuffered caffeine consumption, you are essentially driving a car with the emergency brake completely pulled up. The medication and your nervous system are fighting a biochemical war, and your vascular tissue is the collateral damage. Research published in endocrinology journals routinely demonstrates that chronic, low-grade elevation of cortisol not only constricts peripheral blood vessels, but also actively suppresses the natural production of testosterone in the testes. You are losing the mechanical blood flow and the hormonal drive simultaneously. To stop this adrenal clamp and transform your coffee from a vasoconstrictor into a powerful pro-erectile tool, you do not necessarily need to quit drinking it. You need to buffer the physiological response. You do this by introducing a highly specific adaptogenic compound directly into the coffee, a biological mechanism that intercepts the stress signal before it reaches your blood vessels. The most effective compound for this, backed by extensive clinical literature, is a concentrated, gelatinized extract of Andean maca root. When you ingest high-quality maca root powder, it does not introduce external hormones into your body. Instead, it works directly on the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, the master control centers in your brain. It stabilizes the central hormonal axis. When you mix this powder into your coffee, the caffeine still provides the cognitive stimulation and the metabolic energy, but the maca extract acts as a biochemical shield for your adrenal glands. It blunts the excessive spike of cortisol and prevents the massive adrenaline dump. Because the sympathetic nervous system is kept in check by the maca, the caffeine can actually promote healthy, localized blood flow without triggering the alpha adrenergic receptors to clamp down. Your blood vessels remain open, relaxed, and highly responsive to nitric oxide. Furthermore, maca has been shown to independently upregulate libido and sexual desire by enhancing neurotransmitter sensitivity in the brain, completely bypassing the pathways that synthetic medications rely on. For this protocol, you want to mix 1 flat teaspoon of gelatinized Andean maca into your coffee after it has cooled slightly, as boiling water can destroy some of the delicate active phytonutrients. If you believe that this level of true physiological understanding should be the standard of care for men's health, rather than doctors simply handing out prescriptions and rushing you out the door, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It allows me to keep bringing this vital, clinical truth to the men who need it most. For a long time in my practice, my protocol for men suffering from stress-induced erectile dysfunction was absolute. I told them to quit coffee entirely. I firmly believed that the only way to heal the vascular tissue was total abstinence from any central nervous system stimulants. I viewed botanical supplements with deep skepticism, considering them mostly placebo. However, I faced a hard clinical reality. My patients simply could not comply. High-level executives, entrepreneurs, and men working demanding shifts needed that cognitive boost to survive their day. When they quit coffee, their careers suffered, and the resulting psychological stress ruined their erections anyway. This compliance failure forced me to dive deep into the clinical literature to find a way to neutralize the vascular damage of caffeine without taking away the focus. I needed a biological buffer. After extensive research, I found a specific, clinical-grade formulation that I now integrate into my protocols for these exact cases. It utilizes a highly concentrated extract of Andean maca, which directly regulates the central hormonal axis to prevent the cortisol-induced vascular clamp, keeping the pelvic arteries relaxed. But crucially, it combines this with an incredibly pure extract of fenugreek. Fenugreek contains specific furostenolic saponins that actively inhibit the aromatase enzyme, the enzyme responsible for converting your valuable testosterone into estrogen when your body is under metabolic stress. I started having patients in their early 50s, men working high-pressure jobs who drank 4 cups of coffee a day and had completely lost their spontaneous morning and evening rigidity. Integrate this specific combination into their daily routine. The clinical shift was remarkable. Within 21 days of consistent use, they reported a profound return of vascular fullness and spontaneous erections without having to sacrifice their daily coffee. It is a precise, clinically targeted nutritional support, completely free of synthetic chemicals or heavy metals. I have placed the link to the exact formulation I recommend in the pinned comment of this video, so you can evaluate the mechanism and the laboratory purity yourself. When you finally understand that your daily habits are either opening your blood vessels or chemically crushing them, it changes how you approach your health. Leaving this chronic, caffeine-induced adrenaline state untreated does not just ruin your performance in the bedroom. Over time, that constant vascular constriction causes the smooth muscle in your penis to undergo fibrosis. The tissue literally becomes scarred and loses its elasticity. The temporary shrinkage you experience during a stressful workday eventually becomes a permanent structural loss of size and capacity. The men who learn to buffer their nervous system and provide their hormonal axis with the correct biological support do not just recover their erectile function. They fundamentally protect their long-term cardiovascular health. They stop the mid-afternoon energy crashes. They sleep deeper, and their prostate health often improves due to the reduction in chronic pelvic tension. In the clinic, the difference is visually undeniable. Men who proactively manage their physiological stress age with robust vitality and confidence while those who ignore it slowly watch their physical capacity wither away. To summarize, do not let your morning routine destroy your vascular health. By introducing a central nervous system buffer like Andean maca into your daily protocol, you can neutralize the adrenaline spike, prevent the clamping of your pineal arteries, and maintain robust blood flow throughout the day. I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, how many cups of coffee do you drink a day, and have you noticed your erections getting weaker on the days you feel the most stressed or jittery? The biological window to train and heal your vascular tissue is open right now, but your endothelial cells lose their incredible plasticity if they are constantly bombarded by unbuffered stress hormones decade after decade. The nutritional support I mentioned earlier is designed to be the biological shield your vessels need when lifestyle changes alone cannot close the gap. The link is in the pinned comment for you to review at your own pace. Remember, treating the root cause of your metabolic stress preserves your vitality for the long run, while merely masking the symptom with a pill only buys you a borrowed hour.